Migration could be challenging, overwhelming, and full of uncertainty. Yet, a move to Australia could be the best and most important and valuable decision in your life. My name is Diana, and you're watching Blondie Coach. I'm joined today by Deborah Gears, a good friend of mine, a true Australia born and raised in this amazing country. Let's hear firsthand what locals have to say about life down under. Stay tuned, leave your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to hit the subscribe button for more insights. Ladies and gentlemen, Deborah Gears, my good friend, a multiple entrepreneur, a business lady, a businesswoman, a professional trainer, and a qualified assessor. So, Deb, you're a genuine Australian. You were born here. Mm-hmm. Your parents were born here. So definitely we hope that you know all the specifics and all the tiny peculiarities of our beautiful country.
Oh, I hope I know a few.
I have a list of questions, so I would like to ask them all. All right? Are you happy?
Good.
Are you happy to do
Happy.
that? So, what are some common misconceptions people have about Australia? Can you share any interesting or funny stereotypes about Australians that have some truth to them?
Oh, misconceptions. That we all carry big knives like Crocodile Dundee.
Oh, yes.
That everyone has a kangaroo in our backyard and we ride them to work.
Oh, yes.
That might be true, though. I can't confirm or deny it. No, it's not true. That we all wear budgie smugglers. Mm-hmm. You know what a budgie smuggler is?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, a very, very bad choice of swimwear.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good ones. What are true?
Yes, what are true?
No, most of the big stereotypes. Oh, no, one of the big ones is everything will kill you out here.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The birds, animals, people, a drop bear.
Drop bears. Drop bears are real.
Yes, they do exist.
They exist.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like Santa. Yeah. They do exist, like Santa.
That's right. Exactly. So,
does everybody surf?
No, I cannot surf and I do not swim where I cannot see the bottom.
At all?
If I cannot see the bottom, I do not swim. So no, not everybody surfs.
Have you ever tried surf?
No, because I cannot swim where I can't see the
well,
bottom.
when you're on a board, so probably you can just, surf, but not swim.
Yeah.
No?
No, I have no interest. Sharks live in the water.
Oh, yes.
I'm not interested.
And crocs, in some parts of Australia, crocs live in the water.
Yes, very much so, especially in the northern parts of Australia, crocs live in the water. So there are places that you do not want to go and swim.
Yes, exactly. So Australia is considered to be a country with an easygoing nation. What does that mean? To be an easygoing.
Right, so an easygoing nation, we don't generally let a lot of stuff stress us out. Mm-hmm. We, everything, she'll be right is a real thing. We can say, she'll be right, and we know it's just going to work out. There's not a lot of things that bother us over here.
Okay, but what's the secret of that easygoing? Because lots of people are concerned with the depression or anxiety or, lots of fucking things that are happening in the world.
Yeah. So there is a lot of that. There's still a high amount of mental health issues and stuff like that. That's never going to really go away. But I think for the vast majority of things we are the lucky country, and it is quite a lucky country in a lot of aspects compared to other countries, that I think sometimes we might take it a little bit for granted how good we have it out here.
Yes, how lucky we are to have a chance to live here.
That's right, very much so.
Cool. All right. And what's the most unique aspect of Australian culture that might surprise people? What about culture?
How much we really like Vegemite.
I hate it. It's disgusting. I'm sorry, but it's disgusting.
Foster's beer is not something that we drink in Australia. We give that to the British.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they can drink it.
Yeah. What else? Australian culture.
Australian
A
culture.
barbecue?
Barbecue. Oh, yes. Everyone has a barbie.
Yes.
Absolutely. The Australian barbecue is the best way for people to get together. Playing cricket at Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Whether it be backyard cricket.
Cricket.
Having a sausage in bread at Bunnings.
Yes, exactly. This is
That.
actually what we did today in the morning. Yeah, it's a community event, so you have to buy these sausages with onion,
Yes.
put some mustard or ketchup or whatever you prefer, get some drink, and this is how you actually commit to the community as well, right?
And it's a must-have. You can't go by in life without having a sausage.
We
at
do that
Bunnings.
every single weekend, I think. How has the landscape and wildlife influenced Australian way of life?
So interestingly, for where I live and what I do outside of my training and assessing and at my farm, the wildlife is a pest for me. So kangaroos are beautiful. They are beautiful, stunning creatures, but they are a pest.
Yes,
They cause a lot of damage to the land, right? But they're stunning and they're beautiful.
they are.
Some things that we have as wildlife is actually a poison or a weed to our cropping industry. So that doesn't help. But it's beautiful wildlife, but it's no good for us to make crops and food and stuff like that.
But lots of people are very concerned about the poisonous spiders, snakes, sharks, jellyfish, and everything that can kill you. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff that can't kill you in Australia, generally, literally saying. But how many times have you encountered a snake in your life?
Right, so I live on a farm, and in all the years that I've lived on the farm, I have personally seen alive 3 snakes.
3 snakes?
And I've
for the
lived on
entire life?
That's alive. However, I have maybe seen quite a few that are not as alive as you would think.
What about spiders?
Oh, plenty. They're everywhere.
Yeah, so you just spray it off and that's it, right?
That's what shoes were invented for. That's what thongs.
But you
were
have to
invented
check
for.
the shoes before getting them on.
To knock them
Oh,
off.
yes.
That is what thongs were invented for. Not the thongs up your bottom, the thongs on your feet.
To kill the poisonous spiders.
Kill the spiders. That's what they're invented for.
Yeah, what else? Anything else? But yeah, kangaroos are not dangerous. Any birds? Magpies?
Magpies. Interestingly enough, magpies have a very long memory. So in September is when magpies mate. Now, if you piss off the mother magpie, she will remember that for her entire life, and she will teach her babies to hate you as much as she hates you.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a
then
real mum.
And then they follow that generation down. So those baby birds become adult birds, and then they teach their babies
I didn't
to
know
hate
that.
you. Yeah,
I
true
didn't know
story. True story. Magpies have a very long life. Kookaburras laugh. So kookaburras are known for laughing. Kookaburras are not laughing because they're happy. They're laughing because they're warning other birds that there is a danger around.
They're not laughing. They're bloody screaming.
Yeah.
In the morning.
So
at
while
4 a.m. in the morning.
we think it's gorgeous and wonderful and a beautiful sound, for them it's actually giving other kookaburras a warning that there's something dangerous around.
I didn't know that fact about magpies. That's really interesting.
They will hereditarily hate you if you piss them off.
Oh, I will not do that. I'm not stupid.
No.
Will not touch any magpies, babies.
Make them your friends.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make them your friends and they will love you for generations.
Yeah, but they eat lots of insects right
They do.
here.
And
So
meat, they love meat.
it's a big chain.
insects. Yeah.
Cool. What's a common Australian slang word or phrase that people outside the country might not understand? Oh, there's heaps of different slangs.
Hoik.
Hoik? What's that?
Hoik is a great one. So you hoik it. You either hoik it to move it to you, hoik it to push it against you, hoik it to get it out of something.
Oh,
Hoik is a great. It has so many different meanings. I'm going to hoik that over here. I'm going to take that over here. I'm just going to hoik this with me. Give us a hoik means come and help me lift something.
So that's just multiple.
Yeah, no one would ever
everything.
understand hoik at all.
What else?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah.
Nah, yeah.
Nah, yeah. Yeah, nah means it's good. Nah, yeah means it's bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's a difference. I
Yeah.
thought that's just
Yeah, nah. Yeah, nah.
the same.
Nah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, different things.
But you even say no differently.
Nah.
Nah or
Nah.
no.
No.
No. Not just no, but no.
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 Yeah, nah.
Nice. How do you say nice?
Nice.
Nice. Like with the O, nice.
And depending on where you are, depends on how much you influence the O in nice, where there is no O in nice.
Oh, right. So
Noise, yeah.
the accent depends on the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
or
much.
The township, or if you're city, or if you're country.
Okay. What do you say in the morning to people when you meet people in the morning? How do you say hello or?
Well, for me, I'm very, when I'm meeting people, it's just hello for me.
Just hello.
But there's plenty of other people. If you're more country, it's g'day.
G'day.
Or howdy.
How's it going?
Yeah, how's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah, you don't pronounce the G. It's how's it going?
How's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah. Just imagine that you have lots of flies in your mouth and you cannot literally talk. Like a fly is just flying here.
Yeah. We're very, very sloppy with our English language. We drop lots of letters.
What about the British influence in Australia?
It's there, but it's not as big as it used to be.
As it used to be.
We're becoming such a multicultural country that our monarchy or our love for the monarchy is not as big as it once was. We were very heavily, we're British colonised,
yes.
So we were very, very heavily British. But as more and more different cultures come in, we become more aware of different things.
Cool. What role do Indigenous, am I correct here?
Yep.
Yeah. What role do Indigenous cultures play in contemporary Australian society? Because there are lots of, different thoughts around Indigenous people here.
So it really depends on each community. There's always the political views around Indigenous, and there's always the political arguments, non-arguments. We're more aware of the past. So we're more aware of the past indiscretions that have happened. And so as Australians now, we are more... I don't want to say tolerable because that doesn't sound right, but we're more aware of the cultural diversity, whether they be original Australians or, or generations of. So we do lots of great traditions or great things now that people still need to learn a lot more on. Something like your welcome to the country compared to acknowledging. So a lot of people will do a welcome to country when they shouldn't be because they're not Indigenous. A welcome to country is only able to be done by an Aboriginal elder of that actual land that we stand on, whereas an acknowledgement can be done by anybody.
What are the main problems that we currently have with the Indigenous people? Is that their way of life or traditions or...
The biggest problem we have is drug and alcohol abuse.
Wow.
That would be the biggest. So you go out into the reserves or you go out to some areas, especially like in the Territory, and there's a huge amount of drug and alcohol abuse still because their way of life was they were given all this access to alcohol and drugs and it's been hard to be able to bring it back so that it's not a problem.
That's a huge amounts of money that the government subsidise the Indigenous communities, and they still have these very vital problems.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. The Indigenous people in Australia, so we call them Aboriginal people, right? They differ. They have a very specific appearance, right? But there are lots of just beautiful people, definitely, but you see that still the minorities. But it's just a history. You cannot just fix the issue in one day.
No.
It's quite complicated, and it's very difficult question for Australia as well, right? I think that Canada and United States have the same issues with
probably.
the Indigenous people in their countries as well. So Australia is not the one in the world who cares and who has some difficulty with the Indigenous people. First Nations, right?
First Nations, yep.
Australian food.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Tell us something specific about Australian food. What should a foreigner definitely try in Australia, apart from Vegemite?
No, definitely. Yes, Vegemite. Yes, Vegemite.
No.
Okay, so depending on what state you visit.
Really?
Yeah. So, for example, if you go to South Australia, you must try something called a Kitchener bun.
What's that?
Did you never have a Kitchener bun when you're in South Australia? It is a sweet bun with cream in the middle and a little bit of jam and covered in sugar and icing sugar. Kitchener bun.
Kitchener bun. It's not a donut.
No. It's a bun. It's a South Australian thing. Like frog cakes.
The frog cake
is only a South Australian thing, and it is a little sponge cake covered in the thickest icing that you can ever eat, with whipped cream in the middle and a little bit of jam, and it's shaped like a frog.
I have been living in South Australia for 2 years. I did not try that.
No, look, your diabetes will thank you. There's a lot of sugar in those. Other things, so you should try, if you get the chance, to eat crocodile.
Oh.
Kangaroo.
Like.
And emu. There is no other country in the world that eats their national emblem that we do.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, a kangaroo and an emu are the national emblem of Australia, and we eat them. Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yes.
What else is really Australian? Well, you've got to have a barbie.
A pie.
A pie.
A pie. Oh, yeah, that's an amazing pie. Deborah has recently showed that amazing place with beautiful, just delicious pies. I think that size, right? That size of the pie with different fillings, both savory or sweet.
Yep.
Soury or sweet.
So you've got to have a pie, definitely. Pavlova, I don't care what anyone says, they're Australian, not New Zealand, so you've got to have a pav. Lamingtons.
Yes.
Are you noticing there's nothing healthy in this list right now?
Full of sugar.
Everything is full of sugar.
Yes.
Sugar or fat.
Very sweet.
What else?
Well, Australian steak is famous all over the world.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep, we do
grass-fed
steak.
Cows, yes.
I think, though, you'll find the Australian diet and the Australian culture is becoming so multicultural with food.
Oh, yes.
So multicultural.
Lots of spices gathered from mainly Indian people, right? Bringing their spices into the culture, into the cuisine. Malaysian, Indonesian.
Yep. And you've got to have a frits and sauce sandwich.
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
That's again another South Australian thing, frits and sauce sandwiches. Because up here they call it Devon, not frits.
Devon. Ah, really?
Yeah, so here it's called Devon. Same with in the eastern states, it's all Devon, but in South Australia it's frits.
Oh, okay. So yeah, two different words.
Yeah. Same thing. Bad meat in a roll.
Seafood.
Yes. Oh, we have
Heaps
the most amazing prawns and oysters. As long as you get them from the right parts of Australia, we have the most amazing. Oh, barramundi.
Yeah, very fresh.
Proper barramundi.
Oh yeah, barramundi. The bugs, sea bugs.
Yep, sea bugs.
Prawns, that size, or maybe that size of the prawn.
Oh yeah.
Fresh. Oysters
are
different kinds of oysters.
And our honey here in Australia is beautiful.
Bush honey is amazing. Yeah.
But there's lots of things that you can eat. You can eat lots of native foods, like native plants. You can eat them in your foods out here. And if you come out, go to somewhere that specialises in cooking complete Australian native foods. Every state has a few restaurants that focus on Australian native. It's a whole different kind of culinary experience.
Does that cuisine come from Indigenous people traditions and cuisine,
I
or just
think-
based on the native?
I think it's based mostly on the native
Products.
products that we have here. So we do have
Okay.
some amazing.
Oh
native
yeah,
products.
chocolate. Australian chocolate is the best. Well, I would prefer New Zealand.
Chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chocolate, but Australian is quite delicious as well. Marshmallow. Well, marshmallow, that's not an Australian thing, but anyway. What else? Arnott's biscuits.
Arnott's
Arnott's.
biscuits. Yeah, yeah. You can't beat a Sao.
Oh yeah.
That's a biscuit. That's a savoury biscuit. There's lots of amazing food out here, but I do love that Australian is becoming very multicultural in their food.
Yeah. And lots of European traditions come here to Australia, and they impact and influence Australian culture as well, and cuisine.
Massively.
Massively. Yeah, that's true. All right. How do Australians spend their weekends?
Oh, again, this
Depending on the state,
depending on
again.
the state and where we are. We are actually, people think that we're not very vast or we all do the same thing, but we
Yeah, like
don't
it's
all-
boring, because I've heard a lot of things, especially from Americans, that Australia is so boring.
No,
Like you have nothing to do there. It's not true.
there is so much to do here. So, for me, a typical weekend for me will either be teaching first aid and teaching motorcyclists, or riding motorcycles, or working on my farm, or going to wineries, or
Yeah.
going out for lovely dinners, or catching planes up to see Diana.
Yes.
In summertime, for where I live down the southern Australia, we have a daylight saving, so we're lighter in the day. So there's lots of beach. I don't live completely near a beach, but I sort of live near a beach. I live in a seaside town, but not near the beach. So there's lots of carnivals, and you can catch Ferris wheels and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
lots of different events happening
Loads
on
of
weekends.
different events every weekend. So
Yes.
here in Australia we have Schoolies, which is on this weekend at the moment, and that's where if you finish high school, you go and basically get absolutely shit-faced for a couple of days. There's an Australian word for you, shit-faced.
Shit-faced. Typical Australian. Yeah.
So they party for a weekend when
And
you finish
again,
school.
beaches. Right.
Beaches.
So you just go to the beach, you spend the whole day, if you have a proper sunscreen, a
Yep.
tent, or just a sun, like
Yep.
an umbrella or anything that you can protect yourself from the sun. So you can easily spend the whole day on the beach, make a
can.
barbecue on the beach, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Grab everything with you, and yeah, it's done.
Or you can explore the hills, or you can go into the hinterlands.
Yeah.
Diana is very lucky where she lives because she has the beach half an hour away and the hinterlands half
And the
an hour
hinterland,
away.
just 20, 25 minutes
So
from
it's-
here.
it's-
Yeah,
yeah.
it's lovely.
It is beautiful.
It is beautiful. And what about if to compare whether it's better to live in the city or in a suburb or in a hinterland? What are the differences?
Oh, see, I'm always going to say live in the country because I have no neighbours.
very
My neighbours are my sheep and my cows. That are my neighbours.
Yes.
But I have lived in the city. So living in the city means that if you want to be immersed in lots of cultural diversity, you can be, because it's all around you in the city. If you like to dine out a lot and eat lots of different things and explore new restaurants, you can do that.
Yeah.
If you don't want to drive, if you live in a city, you don't have to drive because there's so much good public transport.
Yeah, public transport. Which is very cheap at the moment. In Queensland, in just 50 cents, just to mention that.
Oh,
50
wow.
cents. It's
That's all right.
nothing.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So living in the city itself is fantastic for those who like the nightlife a little bit, like to be busy and bustly and get around and do lots of socialising, go to lots of museums, arts. That's
Yes.
great.
What about schools, Deborah?
Schools. Schools all depend on where
Living in
you
a
live.
country or living in a city?
So every school here in Australia, you can only go to a school depending on where you live. So you have to live in a certain zone, we call it, for your child to be able to go to that school unless it's a private school.
Yes.
Schools we all have the same curriculum. I don't really care if you go to public or private. We all have to teach the same curriculum. I don't see that much of an advantage always going to a private school, right? Because it's all about how you apply yourself, whether it's private or public. So the schools aren't very different, other than the fact that if you are living rural or very country, you may have one school that has from kindergarten all the way through to year 12 in it.
Through
so
to
you
year
might
12.
only have
Yes.
100 students or 200 students, whereas inner city schools you could have 1,000 students
Yes,
to 2,000
exactly.
students just for your high school. You know, you could have 200 or 300 just in your first year to the
Yeah,
same
so
as
it
your
pretty much depends.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. How has Australia changed in the past decade in terms of politics, economy, social style?
We are not as affordable as people think. We are quite an expensive country.
Yeah.
Compared to, although we're not as, if you compare us to America, we are cheap because I think it's almost double. I think one Australian dollar is
1 and a
50
half.
cents American.
One and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, $1 American dollar is 1.5 Australian,
Australian
or
dollars.
165, something like that.
Yeah,
1.6.
But where it comes to cost of living, we're actually really quite expensive now. It doesn't matter what state you're in. There is a housing crisis and a homeless
Absolutely.
crisis. We have that as well. As we said earlier, we're very relaxed. We actually have a huge
Lots
homeless
of yes.
crisis.
Yeah.
This morning, where I was teaching, I rocked up and there's a family that are living in a van outside of where I was teaching.
Yeah, it's really hard to imagine how people can survive if they cannot afford to buy a house. They cannot afford even to rent.
Yeah.
Because we have a rental crisis as well, not just the house crisis. Yeah.
So cost of living is really quite expensive here. You would struggle to have a single income family.
Yeah, and the prices are climbing every single year. I would say every single month.
It used to be you could buy a packet of potato chips here for $2, and now you pay nearly $8. And
Yes,
that's only
exactly.
happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but it's everywhere in the world. It's not just Australia. It's because of inflation. It's because of the global economy and lots of different things, indexes. Yeah. All right. How has Australia's view on international residents changed in recent years? You say that Australia is a multicultural country. Has it changed or?
Massively. So I could tell you, not even 5 years ago, where I live, we had an Indian family in our community.
Oh, really?
Now we probably have 20% of the community where I live, and we only have 15,000 in our community that would be Indian or of that nation.
Wow.
When I was growing up, there was one Asian family in my community, and they ran the Chinese shop.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
One Asian family, they ran the Chinese shop when I was growing up. That was multiculturalism.
But
now we are hugely multicultural. You have, so many different cultures here, which is fantastic.
the migration politics in Australia is being changed like constantly. But what do Australians think about migrants?
Most of us are good about it. I can't say everybody is good about it, but most of us are good about it. We don't mind. Nobody's here to do us harm. The only times we mind, I guess, is when it comes up in the news and the media of violence of sectors. So there is a culture at the moment that is causing major uproar because they're being exceptionally violent, right, in other cities. We don't kind of like that because we're a peaceful nation. We don't need people running around with machetes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
We're a peaceful.
That's true.
We don't want to
That's
fight
true.
you. We just want to hang out with you.
Yeah. And lots of qualified personnel is coming to Australia, and that definitely that impacts Australia. I mean, it influences Australian economy as well, which is really good for a country. So that might be some. Do we have any racist talks between the communities, between the families, maybe, or it just depends on people?
It all depends on the individual person, but there's always going to be racism. You can't get away from it.
Yes, everywhere in the world, not just in Australia.
Yeah, everywhere. You
Everywhere.
can't get away from it.
Yeah,
It's gonna
because
be
you're
there.
just different. You look different, and yeah.
You know, the probably the biggest thing is you hear that people might complain that people are coming from overseas and taking our jobs, but most people don't want to work that are Australian. Australians are pretty lazy.
Oh yeah, I was just about to say that Australia
lazy.
is considered like a very lazy nation.
Yeah. So if you've got a qualification and we can't fill that trade, and you've come over with that trade, well, good on you.
Yeah.
Work there.
Yeah.
If
Because
if we're too lazy to do it ourselves,
yeah, exactly. Australians are very open people.
Yeah.
So do not be afraid. If you have some hesitations in your mind, do not be afraid. They're very open, like Deborah here. You know, just I can ask Deborah any bloody question and she will be honest with me.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge value. Right?
Absolutely. Every time.
What are the main we have just touched based on the housing crisis, the homeless crisis. What are the challenges is Australia facing at the moment?
Well, that's probably our biggest one, right? Our cost of living, our housing is probably our biggest one, and probably the most concerning that I find for me, because it hits home for me. So we have an employee who is homeless. She works, she has a job, she has a car,
she
has
cannot
money.
afford.
She cannot get a house. So she's been homeless and living on people's couches for nearly a year now.
21st century Australia, one
Yeah.
of the most powerful countries and well developed in the world, and still these problems.
And we have a shortage.
Like very basic things, right?
And we have a shortage of resources. We spent too much of our time outsourcing things that we should still be making here in Australia to other nations. And I think we will find that in quite a few or even close years to come, that's going to bite us on the backside, because we were quite an industrious nation at one stage.
Yeah.
And I think that exporting all the manufacturing, or a large amount, is probably going to be our downfall in years to come.
What about the work-life balance, which is very popular nowadays? Work-life balance in Australia.
I actually think we don't have as good as a work-life balance as people think we have.
Like going to the beach every single day, right?
So, and again, it's really dependent. So I don't think I have a great work-life balance, because I work really, really hard, and there are many, many weeks that I work 7 days a week in some aspect. But then again, I also tell people I don't have a job because I love what I do. So for me, it's not work.
You just love what you're doing.
So my work-life balance is probably not what people would consider healthy, but it works for me. We do like a long weekend. Public holidays and long weekends are amazing.
Oh, there is heaps of public holidays in Australia, by the way.
But you ask anybody, they'll want more. 4 o'clock Friday is a standard time to knock off of work and have a beer by 4:05.
So look, in Europe, mainly in Europe, people work from 9 to 6.
Right.
In Australia, people work from 9 to 5.
Yep.
It's a law, right? So you have to work that from 9 to 5. Long weekends, lots of public holidays.
Yep, we love our long weekends. We love our public holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paid sick leave, paid annual leave. You're a full-time worker.
Oh, yeah.
So
we do have some great work. We do have some great working conditions, I've got to say.
yeah, that's true.
Very good working conditions. I think since COVID, some of the working conditions have made us quite complacent or quite antisocial. Work from home. Everybody loves to work from home.
The hybrid mode.
Yeah. They're things that can work really well, but can also be an absolute detriment to people.
Yes, so it depends. Lots of people become very antisocial.
Oh, very antisocial. But I think that the more Australia grows and becomes so diverse, the more it all becomes individual for people.
Yeah. What's something you wish more people knew about Australia? Because there are lots of rumors about Australia that, well, definitely you can just Google everything about Australia, but just coming here, it's a challenge for lots of people because
Yeah.
it's very, very far. It's an isolated island somewhere in the southern Asia, somewhere in Oceania.
Yeah. People underestimate how big this country is.
Oh, yes.
And how there is a lot. So there's lots of cities, right? And everyone thinks that the cities are just it. But we have a lot of country and land that you will go literally hours for without seeing somebody.
Yeah.
Even from travelling to Adelaide to Sydney, you will go 2 hours at a stretch between townships or without seeing somebody at a time quite
just
easily.
Nothing, yeah.
The phone
Feels-
reception is not as good as people think. Our phone and internet service is certainly under par for what we need. You cannot get service everywhere in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
How important water is to you.
Water,
is
just think
so
about that.
important.
Yes.
And until you start living in climates that have droughts, you don't realise the importance of water.
Oh, yes.
And there are plenty of places that we need more rain just so that we can grow, survive, have crops. You know,
Yeah.
that
Still,
kind of stuff.
lots of things depend on the amount of rains.
Yep.
Right? So, Deborah, you do not have the watering system, the council system. You just have these huge tanks
Yep.
with the rainwater, which is filtered and
Yep.
then consumed.
So if I don't have any water in my tank, I do not have any water at my house.
That's it.
So when you are living off of the land and living off of tank water, you're very, very conscious of how much you use. How long do you have a shower for?
Exactly.
How often do you wash your clothes? All that kind
How
of
often
thing.
do you go to the toilet?
That's
Like,
right,
very
that's
basic
right.
things, but it's so important.
That is why if it's yellow,
Mm-hmm.
let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down.
That's it.
Because we're preserving water.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much. If you could give newcomers one piece of advice about thriving in Australia, what would it be?
Try living in the country as well as living in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
Really soak yourself into the diversity of every part of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And don't swim where there's crocodiles or sharks.
Your favorite place in Australia?
Where I live.
Oh, definitely South Australia. Beautiful place.
Yep, where I live. Outside of that, I really loved my time when I lived here in Queensland, so I'm often back here because it is a beautiful place. Places that if you had to must do and visit, definitely go to Darwin and visit because it's a whole new cultural experience. It's completely different to the rest of Australia.
Why?
I can't explain why it is. It's just really
It's just
hot,
different.
and everybody wears thongs everywhere, and it's just a whole different kind of way of life up there. But it's definitely interesting to see, and it is very multicultural, very very Asian based, very Asian influenced.
My main concern is just Crocs.
Crocodiles, yeah.
So you cannot swim in any kind of water.
No, you do not
Neither
swim.
ocean, nor any river, nor lake. Just nothing.
There's one place that you can go swimming, Litchfield National Park. There's still crocodiles in there, but people go swimming all the time in the water holes.
Oh my God.
But there are crocs there still. Somebody sees a
That's
croc
insane.
and everybody gets out.
Wow.
So, but it's beautiful. Explore the hinterlands of everywhere you go. Make sure you're driving on the right side of the road.
Oh, yes.
Please drive
Left
on the right
side.
side of the road.
Left
Yeah.
side. Keep left. Keep left.
Keep left. And don't just focus on the cities. I mean, there's amazing things in the cities, but there's also beautiful places in the country
Yeah.
that people forget about. And our country towns need support. You come to the country,
Yeah.
support the country.
I've heard that government is planning to invest lots of money into the rural Australia.
Oh, I hope so.
Yes.
But we get
Well,
promised that a lot.
Definitely lots of promises and nothing done. But still,
Yep.
Still, because people cannot live, everybody cannot just live in the city. So definitely people just allocate somewhere in the suburbs, and lots of houses are being constructed at the moment. So do not miss that chance to live in the regional Australia like we. So we got the visa, which was regional visa. So we had to live 2 years in regional Australia, and Adelaide was considered as regional Australia. And that was lovely. I met lots of beautiful, just amazing people. I met Deborah, and we're still friends, and she's coming over to me in Brisbane, in Queensland, which is how many? 2 hours flight,
Yep.
2.5 hours flight, and she is here. So don't think that regional Australia is something very dangerous, full of kangaroos, spiders, and poisonous snakes.
I mean, it's full of it, but it's beautiful.
But it's still beautiful, yeah. So do not miss that chance to visit Australia, or if you're thinking to move to Australia, to migrate, that's a very good chance at the moment. I'm not sure what is planned within the migration policy in Australia, because it's being constantly reviewed and lots of changes every single year. So just check with your migration agent or lawyer to have your strategy, to have everything in mind, just to do the step-by-step guide to move up here, because it's lovely, it's nice, it's beautiful, it's developing.
Oh, massively.
It's safe, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
I can definitely
we're
say that.
actually very safe.
Yes,
We are a really safe country.
which is a big advantage at the moment in this crazy world.
Yep.
So do not miss that chance. Deborah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
I just
you.
want to give you a hug. Australians are lovely people indeed. They are amazing. So do not miss a chance just to get in touch with the locals, because this is how you embrace the culture. This is how you pick up the new words, the language, traditions, some culture things, and you just share that with them. You take something from them and you give something to them, and that's just amazing.
And when you come on over, we'll invite you to a barbie.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, just do not forget your thongs.
That's right. Don't forget your thongs.
Bye.